Hello, hello, hello. Welcome again to the From the Desk of the Deans podcast, episode 4. This time, we have some exciting discussion going on, and we also have another special guest with us. We love having our guests on. But of course, we're back again with Mr. Brown, Mr. West, and yours truly, Trey Brown. And we'll introduce our special guest a little bit later. We've been having some great conversations in the podcast.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of great conversations. I've been learning a lot. I don't know if you guys been learning much. Y'all the gurus.
Oh no,
Uh,
always room for improvement. I'm learning a lot,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah,
yeah, it's been really good. Last week we actually got to talk about accountability a little bit, and that was a very exciting episode. I know we were all excited for that one to go up.
yeah,
Uh,
for real,
we
for real.
were
And it
holding
didn't
our breath.
disappoint. It did not
hmm
disappoint.
So that was a good listen, that one. So definitely go back, check that one out for us. And then you can come back to this one and you'll be caught up, ready for episode 4.
There you go.
Uh, but the title of or our topic this week is closed mouths don't get fed. And this one's going to be exciting because we have a special guest that really embodies that little memento, I would say. And we'll learn about her some as we go on. But I'm going to hand it off to Mr. Dave to go ahead and give an introduction to our special guest.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. And I'm excited because we've got with us Trinity Hemingway. And I'm going to, when she speaks, I'm going to let her share a lot of her details. But she came to us as a mentorship for environmental scholars intern. And it was interesting how we met her. We were at our boot camp where we do development, and we were, that's where we get our students ready for their experience at the lab that they're going to be serving at during the summer. And it was how she approached us and how she decided what her destiny needed to be. And she set up a time to talk to us. And I'm not going to spill it all over, but what she exemplified is what we're going to be talking about today. And that is closed mouths do not get fed. So since she's come into us, she served well in the internship, but she wanted to come and work with us directly. So she did just that. She had an opportunity, and she's still serving as a pre-college university intern, where she's serving for us, doing administrative work. She's doing research, doing all kind of great things, and she's just put her destiny in her own hands, and she's making some things happening in school, in the community, with us as a PCU intern. And I can go on and on and on and on, and I'm going to stop right there. Without further ado, or however you're going to enter her into the conversation, Mr. Trey, welcome, Trinity. We're glad that you're here.
Hi,
Yeah.
everyone.
Hey, how are you doing today?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited for today's conversation. Um, and excited to have you on as well. So, we're talking about closed mouths don't get fed. And Mr. Dave talked about it a little bit, but I really feel like your story kind of embodies that topic. Matter of fact, when we were talking about bringing you on as a guest, you kind of inspired the topic for this podcast, instead of it being the other way around. And so I kind of want to hear, from your mouth, from your perspective, that story of, how you became an MES intern, that transition into becoming a PCU intern, and what led to those actions, those decisions, those things that you were doing to get to the role that you have now?
Okay, well, for starters, my name is Trini Hemingway. I'm currently a sophomore, rising junior here at Claflin University. And during my freshman year, I had a professor, her name is Dr. Bradley, and she sent me PCU MES internship flyer. I was kind of nervous to apply because I didn't really too much know what an internship was, but she just gave me reassurance saying it'd be great, just test it out, fill out an application, and then go for it there from the interview. So I had my interview. Later, we traveled to Virginia, and while we was in our first meeting, I was just getting to know everyone, and I saw a girl sitting off in the corner. Her name was Eline, and I was just admiring everything she did for Mr. Brown and Mr. West. And I was like, okay, I like what she's doing. Maybe I can do that myself. But I was still kind of nervous because I was new to the environment. I didn't know too much about Mr. West or Mr. Brown, so I was just sit in the back. What's the word I can use? Just gaining my thoughts on what I want to do. So later we went to our room. Dinner was coming up, and I was on the phone with my friends, just open up them about it. They was basically motivating me to talk to Mr. Brown and Mr. West, saying, "Don't be scared. You came this far. Like God wouldn't bring this far for no reason." So I text Mr. Brown, just telling him how I felt, that I was interested in doing what Elon do, just getting more insight on what she actually does. And they told me to meet with them at dinner. We had a conversation about it. And then since then, I was kind of hesitant on how I may go because I was very nervous at the dinner. I don't know if y'all could tell, but I was very nervous. So later, we was at Aiken, USC Aiken, and my mentor at Savannah State was talking to me and Mr. Brown, saying I was a great intern and everything. So later, Miss Melinda came up, and Mr. Brown was talking to her, and he was like, "Yeah, she's gonna be our intern for the spring, fall, spring, and summer." So I was kind of I what's the word I can use? Like off puttish, because I was trying to comprehend everything in my head. I was like, did he really just say that? Like just trying to make sure I heard him right. But yeah, he did. So I was just grateful for the opportunity to continue my work with them.
Awesome. And you've been doing great work. Um, People might not even realize how much, has gone through the hands of Trinity. Uh,
Bro.
everything that she brings to what we have going on. So we're definitely all grateful for you. And now I kind of want to open up this topic for everybody. This topic of closed mouths don't get fed. And first off, just what does that title even mean to you guys? Closed mouths don't get fed.
I'm gonna jump in for a minute since I haven't had a chance to talk for a minute. Uh, Closed mouths don't get fed. A lot of times we want something, we desire something, we deserve something. However, we do not ask for it. And I think sometimes we're hesitant, but we're waiting on people to approach us and ask us, do we want to? And if we look at what Trinity did, it was interesting because from my perspective, I was like, wait a minute, she came and asked me this. Does she really know what she's asking? You guys say you do not know what you ask. And it was interesting that she did come and she asked, and I was like, all right, well, we'll see, we'll see. And I've always, and we talked about it a little bit when we talked about help me help you. I always put out a litmus test. And I put out a litmus test, and she passed it with flying colors. And she never was shy about her ambition. She was never shy about wanting to come on board and work with us. And even she didn't mention, I actually sat down, we went out, another litmus test. I showed up at their lab, and I invited them all out to lunch, and Trinity was the only person that took me up on that offer. And so we did have an opportunity to even sit down, and I interviewed her on, really just trying to understand if she knew what she was asking, if she was up for the task. And so closed mouths don't get fed again means, even if you want something, you got to ask for it. You can't wait on somebody to approach you. You got to ask for it. But then I want to add a caveat to that closed mouths don't get fed is when you open your mouth, make sure A, you have something to say, and B, you can back it up. And so I will say, as you said, Trey, Trinity did and does embody that. I am so happy that we did take a chance on her. I'm so glad she opened her mouth, because by her just simply opening her mouth and talking about what she wanted, even though she was shy and even though she was nervous, it opened up a whole new dynamic, not even in Trinity's life, but even in PCU and what we do in PCU, which is why she is with us for life, we tell her.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
No. I mean, this is one of I love this topic because it's so I see it in so many facets of success journeys where whether it's fear, you know, I'm afraid to rock the boat, so I'm not going to say anything, or you're thinking, well, you know what? I would have thought they would have just asked me. You know,
Mhm.
this ties in a lot to our what was it?
Help me help you.
Help me help you. I mean,
Right,
it's the
right.
same kind of concept, same philosophy that people are expecting someone else to do for them. And the destiny resides in that first step that you choose to take, your actions, your mouth. And so this is, I mean, there are times where you need to be silent, but what we're sharing with the community on this one is you got to speak up. You got to
Yeah.
share what you want. And I like what you said, Mr. Brown, because you just can't make noise. You got to come with a package. You got to
Right.
come with, hey, this is what I want, but this is what I have to offer. And how can we, do some negotiating so that everybody wins. Everybody wins in this. But it's got to start with you saying, hey, you know what? This is on my mind. I just want to let you know about it. What can we do? So just
And
want to say,
I'll even say because and we may travel into this vein a little later, but um it's not about pontificating. It's not about, again, just opening your mouth,
right.
right? It is about really being thoughtful about the ask, being thoughtful about the ask. And so closed mouths don't get fed, but again, don't just make noise, as Mr. Dave just said. Consider the ask. Don't just ask.
Mm-hmm.
I love everything that you said about that. And even in Trinity, when you were talking about your story and how you were at this opportunity and you called your friends and you kind of had a conversation with your friends to kind of build you up to having that confidence to go and make the ask. And I kind of want to sit there for a second, really figuring out, you know, what can intern or what can a young professional really do to kind of build up that conversation to go ask for those things that they're looking for or ask or try to get that opportunity that they're seeking? Do you guys have any insight, maybe a tip of how to build up confidence or whether that might come from the people around you? What do you think is the key to really building up that confidence?
If I can, then if Trinity, Mr. Brown, if you don't mind, I want to share a little on something because um, when Mr. Brown spoke to how Trinity approached us, well, approached him first, but she decided in her mind, she saw what she wanted, and she dared to ask if she could do it. And so all I knew was Mr. Brown said, "Hey, we're going to be meeting with Trinity at dinner, and we're going to be discussing what she wanted to do." And I was like, "Okay, So I'm still trying to put my head around. Well, what are we meeting with her about? And she started talking and saying that what she saw, what she liked, what she wanted to try. And as she was doing that, I started realizing, hey, she's asking for a role that she wants to fulfill with us. And I saw the confidence because it does take some confidence to do that, especially if it's in it's in an area that you haven't performed in. You don't know the people 100%, but I did see some. It did remind me of some things that I was able to take advantage of in my career, and there were, and I won't go into it very long. I won't spend a lot of time on it, but I may have mentioned this on one of our episodes that some key and significant promotions and changes in my career happened when I saw the opportunity. I knew who to go to ask, and this is before I did any formal. I'm going to apply and all this stuff, and I went to ask the question, hey, I'm interested in competing for this opportunity. And so what was interesting is the person that I asked, who was a decision maker, they noticed how well I was doing in the area I worked in. They even noticed and thought, man, he's having a good time over there. I know he's not interested in this, although they had thought about me for the position. And so had I not gone to them, it would have been mine to lose. It would have been, somebody else in that position. And then depending on where I was, I just happened to be in a okay space professionally. But what that can also lead to is somebody getting disgruntled, somebody thinking, man, I should have asked for that. I could have done that. I should be doing that, right? But I did ask the question. I did come with some experience because they've seen me work. And so it turned out to be a win-win for everybody because they went through the process, but they gave me the job and they saw the results, and it led to some other opportunities down the road. So I just wanted to share how, make having the confidence to ask, having something to offer, and being prepared to discuss what that could look like is critical in this whole scheme of of opening up your mouth so that you can be fed.
I I have a question that I want to ask, and Trinity, this question is for you. And
Mhm.
it's an exploratory question, right? Because you saw what another person was doing and you wanted to do that. And that's big. I mean, you saw something that you thought you could do and do well. But did you do some kind of preliminary thinking on the organization for which you were asking to become a part of? Was it a comfortability with, I guess for it's at the time we had somebody else, but then Mr. Dave and myself. Was it that you were comfortable enough with us that you felt like, hey, this might be a good fit? Because again, I really do want to explore around this whole thought of asking, but making sure that we're not telling people to just step out there and just keep asking, 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 but like really being strategic about your ask. And so my question for you, Trinity, is like, is there something that was not tangible, something, a feeling or something that you felt like you were a good fit to, even whatever the opportunity would be with us, just hang around us?
I would say since the interview, I feel like you guys, the organization as a whole was very family orientated. Like, you guys welcomed me in with open arms, made me feel comfortable during the interview because I was nervous during the interview as well. So I felt like, okay, well, if I feel this way with them now, I know along the road everything will be fine. If I have problems, I need help, anything, I can easily go to them with it.
Okay, okay.
And I also add another thing to what you said, Trey. Um, so I feel like with the closed mouths don't get fed thing, like to get into that space, I feel like changing your environment is a big part of that because some people they get used to where they are, so it's not that many opportunities there, or it's opportunities but it's offered to other people. So going to a different environment is where you learn more about yourself and you get to know, okay, well I actually do like this. Like you're not doing everyday things that you used to do. So yeah, like you get opposed to more opportunities and you get in your mind like, okay, let me try this. And then your friends as well, friends and family, always having like a good friend group, good family around you, those who keep you motivated, those who's doing stuff with their life as well. Like you seeing people that's go getters, like having go getters around you, always doing something, like not just sitting around, like that motivate you to want to do something yourself. So those are some key things I wanted to add.
That's great. I kind of wanted to pull something from that and even maybe potentially look at it with try another type of perspective when looking at it. But this idea of sometimes you have to change your environment,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like, sometimes we hear you need to change your environment as far as you need to put yourself in the place where the opportunities are. And I think that's very powerful. You need to put yourself in a place where, I mean, if you hadn't done the interview for the internship, then you wouldn't have, met them and had this, okay, oh, I like this over there that I see that they have going on, and I want to try to do something over there. You really put yourself in the place or in the environment where you could find yourself where you're at now. But there's also another side to putting yourself in a new environment. And I think you have to have the humility to put yourself in a new environment.
Mhm.
That's good.
And what that might look like is it's easy to say, your pond. You know what it looks like to be a big fish in your pond. Even if you might not even consider yourself a big fish. Yeah, you know what it looks like. But what is it like when you travel to the river? Like, oh, let me just go ahead to the ocean. And now you might even feel like an even smaller fish in this body of water that you find. And so there takes a level of humility with that of, okay, I'm just gonna try something new and I'm not afraid of this feeling of not fully feeling you are at that place or you are fully, you know, the big fish in that place yet. And that humility, I think that can also come across in the way that you ask as well.
Mhm.
Because the humility of, okay, well, I'm not gonna have too much ego to ask. I see the opportunity and it's not just, oh, y'all need to take me, but no, I'm really interested. I like what you have going on and I feel like I can see myself there. I feel like this could be a good connection. It takes a level of humility to kind of offer yourself up in that way, to offer yourself up for potential criticism, to offer yourself up for potential rejection. And that in itself, that is it almost feels like a different kind of confidence. Like
Mhm.
sometimes the confidence is doing it scared,
Yes,
but you have to
absolutely.
be humble to do things scared because when you don't know what the outcome might be, you just want to ask the question. And so I felt like I saw a lot of that in how you explained your story, and I really respected that.
Thank you.
It's interesting because it's almost like as you were talking, I'm thinking about, okay, here goes step one, here goes step two, here we go step three, you
Mhm.
know? And it's okay, the ask is there. Closed mouths don't get fed. The ask is there. But like you said, it's almost like um being willing to put yourself out,
Mhm.
but also being willing to be adaptive to the environment that you're asking into, right? Showing that humility to be in the environment that you're asking into. Trinity even says something about, I knew that if I would have needed help with something, that they would be willing to help. And so it's almost like, again, if you're looking at steps, it's like you when you're considering the ask, you have to put yourself in a position where you know the organization that you're asking into and you're willing to be, I'm gonna use the word malleable, but you got to be willing to be formed into what that organization is looking for.
Mhm.
Because the converse side of it, and I can only say that because Trinity, you've done an awesome job at doing it. Like I will tell you, you have exceeded my expectations. I'll tell you that right now. You have people that'll ask and they'll have that same mentality that Trinity had in the ask, but their ask is about, I need to get in there and get everything from them that I want from them and not necessarily concern myself with really the job I was asking for. I just know it's high profile. And so it could have been easily perceived as if, because even when you said it, you said, I saw her sitting over there and she was doing something different than what we were doing. And there was nothing about your ask or your attitude that said you just wanted to sit outside of the group.
Mhm.
It was more about, that seems like a step up, and I am ambitious enough to take that step up. And then even in so doing, like, now what can I do for you? And so, like, again, those 1, 2, 3 steps when you're talking to somebody or whoever out there is listening, you thinking about, well, I need to open my mouth because closed mouths don't get fed. Well, before you open your mouth, make sure that you're willing to be malleable. Make sure that you're willing to conform almost to the opportunity that you're asking for so that you can maximize the growth in it.
I agree. Anytime I have a conversation like this with anybody, I always remind them the worst thing somebody can tell you is no. Always go for any opportunity you want to go for. Like you never know where it could lead you to. This opportunity is placed in front of you for a reason, so you might as well just try to get it now before it goes away to the next person. Not saying it's not good to go to another person, but the opportunity is there for you, so it's good to catch it while you can.
That's good.
And
Mhm.
it's good. And it's funny because I read this somewhere years ago, and it was, there could be no yes if there was no no. Yes and no are opposites, right? And
Mhm.
so you couldn't have a yes if there also was not a no. And so when you think about it from that perspective, no has to exist, and it may be your turn to get it.
Mhm.
But because it's your turn to get a no, it will also be your turn to get a yes. And so when I'm talking to people and I'm talking about ambition and going after opportunities, I tell them collect no's. If you're asking for something like today, decide I'm going to collect 15 no's. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to collect 15 no's. And that way, when you get them, it won't come as a shock because you're asking to get the no's. And what'll happen is by the time you get to number 11 and you waiting on the no, that's when the yes pops in. And
Right.
so now you're excited. But if you're out there today and all you're shopping for is one yes, the first time you get the no, you're going to be disappointed. And so, not that I would disappoint Trinity, because I mean, again, I put the litmus test out there. You passed the litmus test. We talked about that before, and you've exceeded expectations. But for the people that that are afraid to ask, wanting afraid to open their mouth to ask for what they want. If you just get in the habit of collecting no's, collect no's, because behind every no is a yes.
Hmm. And I like something that you said earlier, when you're saying it almost seemed like, we were laying out a step-by-step process. And I want to touch on something else that I feel like is can be just as important as actually asking the question. Maybe part of that one-two punch. But it's in something that you said, Mr. Brown, and also in something that you said when you were speaking earlier, Mr. West, when you say, you asked that question and then you found out in asking for the opportunity that they were kind of looking at you anyway. But this idea that, and Mr. Brown, you say this often, but everything is an interview. You
Mm-hmm.
put out litmus tests. Everything is an interview. So make sure even before you're going out to ask that question or make that request that you're going to make, you are showing up in the day to day. You are showing up in
Mm-hmm.
the small tasks. You are showing
Yes,
up
sir.
in everything so that people are able to see it on you anyway.
Yeah.
It's not just you're coming out of nowhere like, oh, based on the way they're acting, I never would have expected that this is something you would want. Now you have to prove it to me. Like your actions in the day to day can already be that proof that you are building up. So when you ask for it, it's like, oh, I can already I can see this in you. I can see that drive in you. I can see that passion in you. I didn't know that I was going to give this opportunity to you, but now that you've asked the question, it's almost like, no, you've let me know, or you've given me insight. Let me know, oh, I wasn't thinking about this before, but this sounds like a great connection right here. This sounds like a great fit where I wasn't looking for a fit to be there. And so sometimes the ask is just, um, in the same way that you're asking for the opportunity, it's also like, oh, I didn't know it was possible to give this opportunity.
Right.
And,
Yes.
and
That's a good one.
so that's I think that's another layer to that. I mean that's kind of what it's about. Closed mouths don't get fed. You never know when just asking is just the thing to put it over the edge.
Yeah.
I,
It's not always the 100% comes from the asking. That might be the last 5%.
I want to piggyback on that real fast because you said a mouthful. You said a mouthful because in actuality, what Trinity asked for was not all that Trinity got.
That's right.
Hmm.
What Trinity asked for was not all that Trinity got. Trinity was asking for an opportunity this summer. She was asking for an opportunity this summer. Yet we decided, nah, we want you to start with us in August. And so she's been working with us. Like she said, she worked with us all fall. We gave her a little bit of break around Christmas time.
Mhm.
And then she came back to us again in the spring, and she's been with us all spring. And the sky is the limit. The sky's the limit. And it was something that was crucial, a crucial step that took place for me. I'm hoping it was crucial for Trinity as well. I can't tell you if this is true for everyone, but the thing that was most important for me for Trinity was I knew she was going to entrust her life with us. And she told us she was going to roll with us until she got out of undergrad. That's what she told. I'm going to stay with y'all until we get out of undergrad. And the one thing that I wanted to make sure of was that we were going to be worthy of having Trinity to roll with us into undergrad. And so we've had conversations about what is her ambition, what is her career aspirations, and then tasking her to actually develop that so that she can get it while she's hanging out with us. Again, but it's all about asking,
Mhm.
asking. We asked. Closed mouths don't get fed, and
Right.
so because our mouths wasn't closed, we asked Trinity. Trinity was able to enlighten us on what she needed from us, and that allow us to even grow what we have as offerings for PCU. And so, I mean, closed mouths don't get fed can go all the way around.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking about as it relates to steps. And of course I was drawn to the story, part of the story I shared earlier. And just so you know, this happened to be an internal type promotion. So all circumstances aren't the same, right? So some of them, that your territory could be different. But what one of the first steps that I did when before asking was just the self talk to build up my own courage to, and just think about how I'm going to ask, right, and what am I going to say. But then prior to actually applying, there's a concept that I have called engage in your future environment and new network, and it means where you start going around to other people that were connected to this position. Some of them were parallel or vertical, some of them were above, and some of them were below. And so I would, before I even considered it, I check with them to just, get their opinion on the position and
Hmm.
to find out what they thought about the position. And I don't want to sound like I had a hidden agenda, but it's going to sound that way because I really wanted their opinion and I wanted to know how they felt about the person coming in. And majority of the conversations went like this. When I said, hey, this position for the director of blah 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 is coming up, what do you think about that? How do you think that's going to impact your area? And I was surprised in some cases where some of them said, I kind of thought you would do that job. I kind of thought you would be considered for that. Aren't you interested in something like that? And so I was able to hear the input and get some feedback from the environment, right? So just to see what their thoughts were. And I said, yeah, I'm considering it. I'm not sure, but I just wanted to get a feel from you what your thoughts were. So self-talk, ask the question, explore, find out what the environment's saying about it, do some research, and then kind of solidify it and make it formal. So that's kind of how the whole process went for me. So I don't know if we want to grab some of those things and make them steps or not, but those are a couple other things that added value for me. I'll just say that.
I mean, I'll just say the key to it is, I mean, when you say closed mouths don't get fed, I mean, that again, you going out to ask people vertical and horizontal,
Yeah.
your mouth wasn't closed. So yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Right, definitely. It was like, sounds like you were putting out feelers.
Yeah.
Almost you were putting out feelers and you were doing the research. So it wasn't just, oh, this opportunity looks pretty. That opportunity looks fancy. I think that look good on
Mhm.
the resume. It's really, okay, let me learn about this opportunity. What exactly does it look like? Do I really see myself there? And that puts you in a position where when you actually go in and you actually do make the ask, then it becomes okay, I have seen what this opportunity looks like. I have an idea. Maybe this is what I can offer. It's almost like that goes into like an interview skill
Yeah.
Mhm.
of you want to make sure you know about the opportunity. You want to make sure you know about the position. You want to make sure you know about who you're looking to work with.
Mhm.
And not only, okay, I see what you guys are looking for, what you might be lacking, and I see how I can contribute to that.
Mhm.
All of that goes into it. So I would say that definitely plays as a step. You're starting with this, okay, putting yourself in a new environment, putting yourself in an environment where you can see success, an environment where you feel like you can find your path to success, finding this goal, finding this opportunity that you do want, and then doing your research, putting out your feelers, doing that positive self-talk that you were talking about, or maybe it's talking to friends or families or a mentor, building up your confidence, and then sometimes just doing it scared. Um, Also, what am I doing in the day to day to
Mhm.
show myself? So maybe they're already kind of looking at me, or
Mhm.
maybe they've seen me, and so when I come up and I decide to ask the question or ask for the opportunity, then it almost becomes like, oh, this is addition. We can see this. This equation makes sense to us to put you in this position because we've been seeing what you're doing, and then you have the confidence, even if it's, you know, it's scared confidence, even if it's like underneath, I know that I'm kind of afraid, but even just going out and taking that step to ask, not everybody's going to ask. Some
Mhm.
people have too much ego to be humble to ask, or they're afraid to be humbled when they ask.
Mhm.
And so that in itself is the confidence or a form of confidence that can come behind that. So I think those are all great steps towards what does it look like when we say closed mouths don't get fed, and how can you ask for those opportunities?
I got another one for you. If you think about again going back to this whole closed mouth mentality, and not even just we started out talking about the ask, like ask for what you want, but as we're talking about steps and talking about background research, and we're talking about precursors to the ask. I'm thinking about even in your everyday activities in the office or in in your environment. Like say for instance, if we're talking to somebody who works on a team and you have people that sit back on teams and they're just quiet. They may have the content and the context in their mind, but they don't talk. Their mouths are closed. Closed mouths don't get fed. And so, like Mr. Dave said, when he went and asked the question, they say, "Oh, we've seen you and we've seen what you do." I'll venture to say the same thing with Trinity, even though Trinity just came to ask us then about what she wanted. It was not that that was the first time that Trinity was on our mind because our mind starts when we interview. We start thinking that the interview, like, is this somebody that can grow long term with us? And then even when she was talking about her mentor, and her mentor came to me and said, "That's the best intern I've ever had,"
Mm.
right? And so it was like there was nothing that that mentor really had that he could offer her, but her mouth wasn't closed while she was working with him. She was willing to, step up and be beside him. And so those are opportunities to open your mouth as well, even if it's not about the ask. It's about being a value add in the environment in which you're in. Open your mouth, being constructive. And so when you do things like that, when opportunities do come available, and now you feel like I need to make an ask, it's it's receptive. It's a receptive ask because people have already seen you in action and seen what you offer and see what you can do.
Mhm.
Hmm. And I want to say thank you to you, Trinity, our amazing special guest that even inspired this episode altogether. And definitely, for embodying all of these different things that we were talking about when we're talking about this closed mouths don't get fed mentality. But I definitely do want to give you an opportunity to speak if you have anything else you want to add, you know, anything you have going on, anything you want to plug, anything like that. Is there anything you want to share with us or with the people?
I'll say always remember to speak for yourself, advocate for yourself. Remember your ideas and anything you have to say is always valuable. Any thought that you have, even if it's not for opportunity, if it's for something within yourself, once you get an idea, go for it. Don't think nothing can hold you back from it. Um, just speaking a little bit about me recently, I had this little idea to start my own organization. I just woke up in the night, thought about it, and I wasn't really too sure if I could do it. It was just a little wild thought, and now here I am in the progress of having my own camp through this organization I created. So I always remember, once you have an idea to do it, just have that courage, have that confidence in yourself, and just do it. Yeah.
So plug the name of your organization.
Name my organization is called the Influential Initiative.
Influential Initiative. Be on the lookout for the Influential Initiative.
Yeah,
Uh,
we're excited.
I love that. And this has been a great episode. Of course, thank you to you all for being with us again on From the Desk of the Deans podcast. And thank you to our listeners who have been coming in each episode. And if this is your first time, you got some homework to do now. We got 3 other episodes that you can go back and listen to. Make sure that you like, share, subscribe. It's all about getting the message out, whether that's to you or the people that's connected to you that you feel like could grow from these conversations, like we have been growing from these conversations. And definitely, share stories about times that you've advocated for yourself. If you want to put that in the comments. And if you have any questions, any topics, anything that you want us to speak on in the future, feel free to drop that as well. You can also reach out to us on social media at Pre-College University. You can find us for sure on Instagram and on Facebook. But this has been the From the Desk of the Deans podcast, episode 4, and episode 5 will be coming to you real soon. Thank you guys.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.